Hi. So in this part we are going to look at sales invoices and the purchase invoice. Now a sales invoice is created for a customer which is linked to a booking. So as you can see in the sales invoice index, you get information regarding a sales invoice with details about the booking number, the invoice number, and other information about the invoice. Now there are two statuses in a sales invoice. If the invoice is complete, it changes its status to completed. And if the invoice is not complete, it has a status called as draft. To create a new invoice, you can click on New Invoices, and you will be displayed with information to fill in for a new invoice. So I'll click on Existing Invoice. So let's click on this. And as you can see, this invoice is not complete, so the status is in draft. Important thing to note here is that every invoice is connected with a booking number. Now each booking number will have details regarding the charges that the vessel has faced through its journey. You can click on New Invoices line to add in more charges if there is any. So you select the charges. You select the income charges. So there is two: cost charges and income charges. You add in information regarding the currency and rates, the tax information, and the margin. Once that is done, you can complete and finish the invoice. So let us look at a completed invoice. So here is an example of a completed invoice. Once an invoice is completed, you get an option to print the invoice. So we click on Print Invoice. Now in invoice, you will have information regarding the booking as well as the customer's information. So we go back to invoices. And as you can see here, it displays information regarding the current balance of an invoice, its total invoice amount, and other tax related information. You can always add UTR numbers related to any transaction in that particular invoice. The next screen here is the purchase invoice. So we click on Purchase Invoice. Now a purchase invoice is created for different vendors from which the organization has purchased services from. So we take an example here for a purchase invoice. Now as you can see, a purchase invoice has to be created along with a booking number. It also has the bill of lading number, the vendor's information. Now this is an example of a completed purchase invoice. The purchase invoice has a line item shown here which describes the pricing type, the charge head, and the container information. You can also click on Print Invoice to print the purchase invoice for that vendor. So this was our purchase invoice. Let us look at the roadmap of our modules. So as you can see here that initially you need to add a container which is added inside the container inventory. Once a container is created, it is ready to be used by the other modules. The next stage is creating pricings. Now you can create pricings for your services, which includes ocean pricing, port, inland, etc. You can create booking slots. So a booking slot is created whenever a customer asks for or inquires for any service. Next, once an inquiry is confirmed, you can create a sales inquiry based on the customer's requirements. After that, once the inquiry is confirmed and the customer wants to proceed further for a booking, you punch a booking entry. After creating the booking entry, the next stage would be export operations. Now, during creating a booking entry, you add in the container's information. So container information is added inside booking entry, which is carried forward to export operation. Now an export operation also includes the booking entry and the container details. So you can select those containers only if your export operation is connected to that specific booking entry. Once the booking entry is complete and the export operation is linked with that booking entry, the next stage would be loading up the containers onto the vessel. So a bill of lading is created. Now during this process, the container status changes. The container status changes from empty to loaded and then from loaded to on water once you create the bill of lading. You can always check the container status inside a container inventory. Finally, the vessel moves after your bill of lading is created. The next step would be creating a sales invoice for your customer or a purchase invoice for your vendor. Now an import operation can be used if a container has to be imported from a particular location. So that can be also done using the sales inquiry and the booking entry process. So similar to your export operation, you need to create a sales inquiry and a booking entry for a particular import operation. Once an import operation is created, if the container is loaded, it will change its status back to empty. So that's all for this part.